Hello, 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 and welcome to Courageously Kind. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Liz. We're twin sisters and best friends.
Together, we share stories of especially kind humans doing especially kind things, in hopes that these conversations motivate and inspire you to be kinder to yourself and others. When we're not speaking with an incredible guest, we'll speak directly from our hearts about what it means to us to be courageously kind.
We've been getting a lot of questions, primarily on our TikTok. Liz had a TikTok blow up last week. Was it last week? I have no concept of time anymore. But Liz had a TikTok blow up and we gained a lot of new friends and followers of Courageously Kind. So we've been getting a lot of questions about who we are and what we do, and also some questions about kindness. Some really in-depth and thought-provoking questions, actually. So we decided to compile them all and make an episode here answering your questions. A lot of these questions, like I said, come from TikTok. Some of them come from our Instagram. But if you ever have any question about us, about what we do, about anything, we'll try and answer it to the best of our abilities. And, we love answering it.
Yeah.
We love answering questions. So, if you ever have a question, send it our way.
Yeah.
To get started, I have them broken down into questions about ourselves and about Courageously Kind, and then some of the kindness questions, the more thought-provoking, sort of what's our opinion on this type of questions.
Yeah. So. And before we start, the reason we're doing this episode is we're all about education.
Absolutely.
And we think the best way to educate people on facial differences, on kindness, is to... We think the best way to educate people on facial differences and kindness is by asking questions and, maybe providing some answers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how we learn, right? There's no such thing as a silly question, as long as it comes from a place of wanting to learn. So, that being said, let's jump right into it. First question is, when and how did you come up with Courageously Kind? And then piggybacking onto that, there we go. I wanted to use that phrase and I was like, that sounds stupid. Okay. Adding on to that, was there an event or moment that pushed you to make this podcast? We talk a lot about this in our introduction episode called Welcome to Courageously Kind, but we can go ahead and summarize it for you now. We got started working on this in August of 2020. So a few months ago. I can't do math. 4 or 5 months ago. Feels like we've been doing this forever, though.
It does.
It doesn't
really
feel like we
does.
just started. I don't know. But we got started in August, and it was sort of a really spontaneous thing.
Yeah.
I told Liz, let's do a podcast, and she was like, what? Because neither one of us really listened to podcasts, but it just, I don't know, it made sense to me in my brain. We were basically having these conversations, trying to figure out everything about how the world works and how we can be better people and make the world a better place. And the conclusion we kept coming to was kindness. So we decided, why not record these conversations and share them with the world? And if other people have conversations as a result of them, that's amazing. And maybe we could really create change by just sparking conversations.
I was very skeptical.
You were.
I thought, who's going to listen to this? Who's going to care? What are we going to talk about? I was very skeptical, but I'm really glad that you forced me to do it.
Well, thank you. So I don't think it was necessarily one event or moment that pushed us to make Courageously Kind. I think we were feeling inspired sort of all throughout 2020. We just had a lot of time to think and contemplate and really learn how to articulate what we were thinking and what we were feeling. And Liz also started getting really involved with face equality activism during that time. She sort of found her activist voice, and we started to get really involved with that. And so I guess we were just feeling inspired. it came after like a long time of feeling inspired and motivated to do something. And we had no idea what we were doing. We kind of just said, like, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And we did. Yeah. The next question is, do you like art? And what are things that make you happy?
Well, we could answer this very quickly by saying art makes us happy.
Done and done.
But I think we've always been very artistic kids. We've always loved, music and any kind of artwork and literature. And that was really our niche in high school.
Yeah.
Do you say niche or do you say niche?
I say niche.
Me too.
I don't like the word niche.
I don't either.
I don't like it.
I say niche.
I say niche.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyways, we were never sport kids, so that's really where we found ourselves.
Was through art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and art makes us really happy. I think the cool thing about art is that, like, there's no real, like, definition. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's just, like, pure self-expression.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we love art.
And we love music, too. I know that's a form of art, but I think music really inspires us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The next question is, going on what inspires you, is what inspires you every day? And I love this question because it's not like, I feel like oftentimes we hear things, we see things, and we get really inspired. And it's sort of like an inspiration high, You get really excited about it and really motivated to do things. But then after a while, that sort of like fades away and we're sort of just left, wondering where did all that inspiration go? So what is something where do you find inspiration on the daily? Yeah.
I'm really inspired by, it's going to sound so stupid, but the weather. You know what I mean? I think I'm really affected by the weather.
I am too.
A nice sunny day is so exciting to me. Probably because we live somewhere where the sun never shines.
Yeah. The sun is actually shining right now, which is, like, amazing. But
I think something as mundane as just, like, blue sky, just puts me in a good mood.
Yeah, finding those little moments of inspiration in the mundane, in the day-to-day life. That's how we can start living, like, happy, joyful lives, right? Is just, like, relishing in the little moments. I love that. So, sort of going in a different direction here, I think this is a question that people with facial differences or disabilities or physical differences of any kind get really often. It seems like a question that everyone has. And I think it's because we know the answer. But the question is, do people stare at you? And if so, do you find it to be annoying?
Well, I gotta say, with the masks now, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
So I selfishly like wearing masks.
I do too, just...
It hides the blackheads on your nose.
Like that pimple on my chin.
Yeah. But people do. And that's kind of one of the reasons we started Courageously Kind or started speaking up at all, is so that, our whole message is the more you see me, the less you, look at me.
And I think people stare because they don't understand.
Right.
They're trying to figure it out and put it together in their head. And so if you, say a condition like Treacher Collins, I know what that looks like now.
Right.
And I know about it and I know what it is. So if I were to see a person with that condition, I probably wouldn't stare because I can see it, I acknowledge it, I move on with my day.
Right.
So that's why I think face equality education is so important. So we don't have to stare at people.
Yeah. An accurate representation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seeing yourself on the screen.
Right. Seeing yourself, like you just said, seeing yourself on the screen, showing young children. Hopefully we'll get to a day where, seeing someone where the facial difference is as normal, which is not a great word, but is as mundane as seeing someone with brown hair.
Right. It's just
right.
Just another day.
Right.
Right. And I think we can get there. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, but to follow up with, is it annoying? Yeah.
Honest answer.
Yes.
Yeah. Courageously kind answer.
Yeah, the kind answer is, I understand why.
Yeah.
So it's less annoying and it's more like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I understand why it happens. And there's so many great activists that are working so it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm very optimistic.
Wonderful. So now to get into some of the deeper questions. And these are questions that people have asked us, just to provide our opinions or provide our advice or whatever. Just a disclaimer, we're not experts. I mean, we're 18-year-old girls. Somebody gave us a microphone and we're like, cool, let's talk. You know what I mean? But I can say that we have experienced some of these things, and we're just going to give you our thoughts and our advice. Feel free to take it. Feel free to leave it. Whatever you choose, we won't be offended. So these are just our thoughts and our opinions. The first question is, someone asked on our TikTok something along the lines of, they're a generally optimistic person and a happy person and a hopeful person. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're met with a comment like, well, life sucks, deal with it. Or when people are speaking up again about issues in our world and they're met with, yeah, life sucks, deal with it. Mm-hmm. How do we respond? How do we approach that comment? What do we say? What do we do?
Yeah. Well, first, to that person that chooses optimism and hopefulness anyways, you are so courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go back to Brene Brown's theory of the arena.
Yeah.
When you're in that arena where you're choosing, to see the good, the quick answer, don't listen to those that aren't as courageous as you.
Right.
Who choose to find the good.
Right. And also, an interesting perspective that you can choose to take or leave is, maybe that person that has this pessimistic, life sucks view, they might not have experienced joy like you have experienced in your life. Mm-hmm. It's very possible that they don't experience joy very often. So I think it's really courageous to have the compassion for someone and say, I understand and I acknowledge you have a pessimistic view for a reason. Mm-hmm. You aren't just born with it. Maybe it's something that's taught to you. Maybe it's something you adopted. Maybe you adopted this pessimistic view as a way to sort of protect yourself from getting hurt. Mm-hmm. I think it's very much like a defense mechanism. I don't want to get hopeful. I don't want to get optimistic because I will be disappointed. Mm-hmm. So having the ability to look beyond that and have some compassion and understand that, they have that view for a reason. Yeah. So
I think remember your own courage and remember to treat those people with compassion.
Exactly. And it's also very possible that they just never were empowered, or that spirit of we can change the world was never nurtured. So just I don't know, maybe thinking about context is huge and important. The next question is, how do I find the courage to leave a one-sided friendship? Can I just say I've been there? I know what that feels like to be in a friendship that's one-sided, and I know what it feels like to have to find the courage to, maybe be on your own.
And you can tell from this question, how do you find the courage to leave? You can tell that you've probably done all you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I do just want to say, maybe take a second and sort of analyze the friendship and see if at one point were they a great friend?
Yeah.
Was the friendship really mutual at one point? If the answer is yes, I would maybe consider if your friend is going through something or struggling with something. Because when I tend to struggle with something, I kind of pull back and I don't give the relationships in my life the energy that they deserve. So I would ask that question. If not, if it's always been one-sided, if you've always been giving and not receiving any love or attention, then it's probably time to set that boundary and step away from that relationship.
And, there's different degrees of, I don't want to say severity, but, if you don't want to, ghost them, you certainly don't have to.
Right. You can just, maybe, tell them you need a little space or just sort of take a step back.
You certainly don't have to end on bad terms. Just because you're ending, it doesn't have to be ugly.
Right. I mean, people grow, people change, people move on, people get into new friendships. Friendships sometimes don't last forever, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. But just know that, don't fear being alone. Being alone doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be lonely. Loneliness doesn't last forever. And you can find love and joy and happiness and satisfaction within yourself. It takes a lot of work, but you can do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of being alone. Don't be afraid to set healthy boundaries for yourself. It's very courageous what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to sort of wrap things up here, this episode has been a little bit longer than usual, but that's okay. A lot of great questions. Hopefully some good answers. This last question I'm going to direct toward Liz. And it is, how can people without facial differences or disabilities or physical conditions, non-affected people, how can they be better allies, better advocates for the people in their lives that are disabled or have physical or facial conditions?
Well, a really easy way to share, to share content.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Share
And that's so easy to do nowadays.
Right. It's really easy. You hit a button and boom, you've really done, a lot of the work.
Right.
But it's also very important to listen. And acknowledge that everyone has a different experience. So learning and educating yourself on these kind of heavy issues, one person's experience is not another's.
Absolutely.
Something that might, hit a nerve with somebody might not hit a nerve with somebody else. So just realize that every situation is different and being open to listening and, supporting us. I can tell from this question you're already doing it.
Right. And that's another thing, asking questions. Ask, people like you, Liz, is always here if you have any questions.
Yeah.
She loves to talk. So,
I love it.
But ask questions, listen, share content.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do to be a better ally.
Yeah.
An advocate.
Yeah.
Great questions.
What a great episode.
I think we covered so much in this episode. Kind of all over the place, but I think we answered everything to the best of our abilities. Again, any questions ever whatsoever, you can ask them on TikTok, you can ask them on Instagram, you can send us a DM, you can send us an email, anything. We love answering your questions.
Yeah, so for more information about some of the topics we talked about today, you can listen to our first episode to hear more about how we started the podcast. You can listen to Face Equality. You can listen to our episode on unkindness. So if you want to dive deeper feel free to check out those past episodes.
Absolutely.
We'd like to give a huge thank you to Anawalt's Landscape Contracting for their support of Courageously Kind.
Anawalt's is a family-owned landscape contracting company in Berks County that has served Pennsylvania for over 35 years.
If you're ready to get your landscaping project started, visit anawaltlandscape.com or call 610-916-7070.
Anawalt's Landscape Contracting, beautifying Pennsylvania 1 yard at a time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, feel free to share it with your friends, your family, or anyone you think might like it too.
And if you want to support the show, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does help. Or check out our merch store at courageouslykind.org. Take good care, and we'll see you back here real soon.